Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the new Civivi Brazen button lock, which currently comes in a Tanto configuration and only a Tanto configuration. We'll talk about that. It does come in a wide variety of different colors, and the price on it is pretty darn good. So I'll link it right down below. It should be available right now. It does help this channel when you use those links before you buy something, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to Civivi for sending it in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this knife. It is the Brazen. It's just a button lock. So this won't be a long review. It doesn't require much. It's not a super complicated knife. I don't want to waste your time. But it is good. There's some good things here. Overall length is just shy of 8 inches, about 7.85. Blade length is about 3.5, and cutting edge is about 3.35. Let's do some size comparisons. You can pick up some of these custom scales down in the description under Original Goat or Flightanium, up against the Demco AD10 and the Demco AD20.5. You can see here it's much closer to the size of the 20.5. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue? And I think to finish off here, if I can find it, it seems to be completely and totally missing today. So I guess we'll go ahead. Oh no, it's right here. We have the Hogue Deca with some Original Goat scales. It's also about the same overall length as the Hogue Deca. So how's the action on this knife? It's good. It's exactly what you would expect the action to be on a nice budget button lock. It's also nice and crisp. I think the detent, or what's acting as the detent, is good. That'll be the plunge lock. It's got some thumb studs that work really well. And there's no, what I like to call, plunge drag, meaning you can push down as hard as you want and the knife should fall. That time it didn't want to, but all these other times it's just fine. Maybe it's just everything working in. Sometimes on button locks you push them really, really hard. Not that you always do that, but you might not be able to always control the exact amount of force that you push, so I would rather it not be there. Sometimes you push a little too hard and it drags or gets stuck, and that bothers me. That's not the case here. How about carry profile? Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3, it's about the same. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. You can see here in the pocket it's going to be fairly similar to the Para 3, except not quite as tall. Nowhere near the same overall length as the PM2. What are we looking at for materials? For some reason originally I thought this was D2. It's not. It's 14C28N, which I think Civivi does a good job of in terms of heat treat. So that's good. It's also a very balanced and well-rounded steel. One of the best steels that you can get in the budget territory. At the price point that they have this at, that doesn't bother me at all. I think that's a fine choice. Material for the scale is G10, and then we have some lipped, not nested, lipped steel liners there that have been milled out for weight reduction. Let's go ahead and weigh it. I'm going to guess that weighs about 3.5 to 3.75 ounces. A little bit more, 3.88 ounces. Not anything that I'm going to complain about. You might complain about it. It just depends on how much weight you are used to having in your pockets, which sounds like a weird thing to say, but oh well. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'm going to get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. This is a Civivi, so it's most likely everything is going to be T8, and that looks to be the case here. Yes, for sure. You know what's interesting? They have this little, it almost looks like a washer right there. I wonder if it's just a piece of, it's a piece of something to keep it sliding in and out. Interesting. That's the first time I've seen that, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's present on other button lock knives, and I've just never noticed it before. I just noticed it there. I don't think it's anything critical, but there you go. The handle scale screws are going to be T8. The pocket clip screws are going to be T6. Fortunately, they were smart enough to add mounting positions to both sides, so that's nice. Very easy to take apart. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. Let's go ahead and measure blade stock thickness here, get a good idea, and then we'll move on. 107 thousandths seems really thin. Yeah, maybe more like 110,000, something like that. All right, so it's the Civivi Brazen, which has one of the most classic knife profiles of all time. This is always, this is always the type of knife that it's newer people, right? I mean, I don't want to come down too hard, but that's who's saying this stuff. It gets some of those people to say, that looks like a copy of the, insert any of like 1,000 different knives that have shared this similar profile. dating back to, when cavemen walked the earth. Yes, it does have a knife profile. It has a knife profiled handle and a knife profiled blade. So it will look like a lot of other things. That's not what we call a copy. That's what we call, there's not really anything you can do about it because these lines just kind of work. But Civivi makes a lot of this stuff. I mean, you could actually say it's a copy of at least 100 knives in Civivi's own line, and you would be accurate, but they can do that. They can copy themselves. So whatever. The handle profile works. It's a classic knife handle profile. It's been knocked down around the edges, same as the standard Brazen. The only thing that I'm feeling is, of course, the pocket clip because it has way too much of a bill and it's too long. I have always maintained the same opinion of this clip. It is roughly a B- clip, meaning it will function, but there are elements of it that bother me, and Civivi could easily change it and make it better. But clip design is always very subjective, and it's really just my opinion, so they probably won't. The blade is a Tanto. It is a plain American Tanto, and it will work. It works just fine for an EDC knife blade. You have a straight edge that won't slice as well as something that has belly, but you get two separate edges, which is sometimes nice if you want to dedicate one edge to scraping or opening packages or things that are, I guess when I say opening packages, you're more likely to run into a staple. So you could reserve one edge to do things that, might screw the blade up a little bit more, and then you just have a shorter portion to sharpen. And then you can use the primary part of the edge to do more of the slicing and the heavy cutting. Or you could ignore that completely and just use it like a regular knife because most people aren't going to go that far out of their way. I prefer a simple drop point blade, like the one on the Ritter Hogue here. I think that's a little better, and it's obviously a little bit easier to sharpen and maintain over time because you don't have to change angles. It's bizarre to me that they did not offer this in both Tanto and drop point configuration. The original Brazen was a drop point. While I'm saying this out loud, it's not that I'm realizing it just now. I'm just going to point out that I am fully aware that Civivi will probably release the darn thing in drop point at some point, or maybe they won't. Maybe it's just like the Tanto is just what you get with the button lock configuration. If that's the case, that's weird. Civivi, that's weird. Why did you guys do that? But okay, fine. The thumb studs are slightly in the cutting path, not really that big of a deal. It's very easy to use the thumb studs, whether you want to do the reverse flick or whatever, right? The Tanto's going to Tanto. It will do what Tantos do, which is poke and cut. Realistically, for 99.9999999% of people, it will cut just like a regular pocket knife, right? You kind of romanticize the idea of like using your blade for ultra specific tasks that would require the knowledge and wisdom of somebody who's a level 127 bushcraft wizard. Or you just are cutting things, right? So, okay, whatever. Not really that big of a deal. I think the biggest point here is it's not a horribly expensive knife, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, if you dick it up, then whatever, right? I think that you're kind of just free to obviously just use this however you want. I mean, that's true with anything you buy, right? I mean, you spent the money on it, so there you go. There's a lanyard bar back here. You can attach a lanyard to it if you want, and no big, stupid, ugly hole, which is the way to do this. We should be past the point of putting holes in our knives for lanyards. Number one, there's hardly anybody putting lanyards on their knives anymore. And number two, why are you subjecting everyone to a huge hole? You shouldn't be, right? Keep your hole to yourself. That's what I always say. The lanyard bar is the solution to this for sure because it doubles as an additional standoff, and so what? No big deal. The pocket clip, already kind of said what I think about the pocket clip. The bigger thing, though, is that they actually, are allowing left-handed people to enjoy this knife and carry it safely, right? Just flipping the knife over and carrying it in your left-handed pocket is an obviously stupid idea, but some people do that. I'm going to have you guys think about that as it's in your pocket. If the blade were to open, where's that blade pointing? Yeah. Simple puzzle. The puzzle has two pieces. Just put them together. There you go. That's why you can't do that. You want a mounting position on the other side for left-handed people. There is a proper way to carry a knife depending on whether it is tip up or tip down and whether or not it has a flipper tab. But I've explained that multiple times. I mean, you can carry your knives how you want. It's your stuff, right? But there's a safe way to carry it and there's not a safe way to carry it. You should consider how you're carrying it, and how likely it is for the blade to accidentally deploy in your pocket. Here's a hint. If it's up against the back seam, the blade can't open. So consider that when you're putting it in your pocket. I had this argument with my brother who carries a knife with a pocket clip that's mounted for a right-handed person in his left-handed pocket, which I've explained is an insane thing to do, but he does that anyway. Anyways, we have a stop pin located in its usual spot. There's a little bit of shouldering, and that's fine. It's good. That's what I like to see, just for the additional surface contact. And it wears slower over time than just a flat surface. Sometimes I say things are good without explaining them. Sorry. I was realizing that. There's it runs on bearings, which is great. Nice smooth action. No blade play up, down, left, or right. Little tiny bit of button stick, but that'll go away, and it's pretty typical of button lock knives. No pivot lash, very smooth, very consistent, and a nice plunge lock detent. Not a regular detent ball. Everything you'd expect. This is the Brazen, which is the world's most basic knife. If it were a car, it would be a 2001 Mercury Sable. If that's what you drive, that's fine. I'm sure it gets you from A to B, but my God, that is the most boring and plain car in the whole. They literally should have just called it the Mercury car. In fact, what was the other one? The Ford Taurus? Ford and Mercury shouldn't have even put their names on it. They should have just called it car. Or all of the different badging and everything like that. You have a hood ornament, or there's a thing in the middle of the grill. Don't put any of your manufacturer logos. They literally just should have put in Times New Roman the word car in lowercase. It's that boring. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. You'll have a good laugh. But anyways, that's kind of what it is. It's a button lock knife, and it's very, very utilitarian, and it's made, it's designed very well with very classic lines, and it will work. Good materials, great, handle profile, all of that. It's all very good. The price is also very good. $63. I don't really have a problem with that. If you're looking for a good, straightforward, utilitarian button lock knife, this will do it. The only weird thing is that it only comes in Tanto, which is weird if that's their only plan, right? I can't imagine that this is made to be like some, oh my gosh, look what Civivi's releasing. They need to do a million different blades. Honestly, it'll probably be kind of forgotten because it's the Brazen, but it's a button lock. So it's just that much weirder that they decided to do it in Tanto like that. Why would that be the main draw? I don't know. I mean, I guess it's not really that crazy of a thing. It's just the only weird thing about this. If you like button locks, you like Tantos, you like cheap knives, and you like designs that are straightforward, purpose-built, and there's no pomp or frill, this'll do it. This is a budget knife that I like, and it's also, generally speaking, a recommendable knife. So it's going to go in my cheap knives I like playlist as well as my recommended knives playlist. So check those out if you want. Like I said, it's available in a bunch of different configurations, so I'll link it down below. That's going to be it today, guys. Where did the card go? Is it just gone? There it is. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.